I'd like to discuss, hopefully briefly, but we'll see how this video goes, and talk a little bit about pathological narcissism and why it's so difficult for a lot of people to recognize a pathological narcissist or psychopath, even when they have felt that there was something off about this person, and like all these ex-Tealers, even they would still comment that, they'll say stuff like, Teal is going to wake up one day and she's going to realize all the bad things she has done to me and people around her, and she's going to feel really, really bad about herself. Or they attribute whatever mental illness Teal Swan has said that she has to make people feel sorry about herself, and they think that, she's just dysfunctional in this way. I don't know what she said, epilepsy, I think she says that she had. A lot of people, narcissists and psychopaths, say they are bipolar, which is a really good excuse for them using certain manipulation techniques. So they still buy into these manipulations, these lies that pathological narcissists tell them, where in reality these people do suffer from a disease, but there's only one disease. It's not a myriad of disease. It's not this bad history that they make up. The only disease that they have is pathological narcissism or psychopathy. And what that means is that these people have no empathy whatsoever towards you. The only person they care about is themselves. And this is really hard for people to grasp, this concept, because a lot of the people that Teal Swan attracts to her are people who are the opposite, are people who are loving, who have a lot of empathy. A lot of the people I would gather who listen to Teal would be, first of all, women, but who are more naturally nurturing in the feminine energy. But also, I would say a lot of nurses would be attracted to her, a lot of maybe childcare workers or nannies or anybody with this kind of very empathetic, caring aspect to them. These are the kind of people that tend to fall hard for narcissists. Not only like Teal, but a lot of the time the first experience you would have with a narcissist, especially if you're a woman, is dating one. And unless you learn to have a critical attitude to them and recognize that this is the kind of person that they are, and even though I'm full of this empathy and I function in a certain way, I have to recognize that not everybody is like me, that there are people out there like Teal, like these narcissists, that just for whatever reason, I'm not going to go into the reasons why this could be, why they're missing this part of their brain, but they just are not like me. And the only real way I'm going to deal with it, they're not going to feel bad about me. They're never going to come to this conclusion that they've hurt me. The only thing I can do is look after myself and get as far away from this person as I can, not give them any more time or any more energy. And that's really the only thing you can do. That these people are going to smile and they're never going to become unhappy about treating you like crap, no matter how much crap they've put you through. So a good way to look at a pathological narcissist is kind of like a Mr. Potato Head that can put on certain emotions, certain attitudes, and even clothes that will depend on what kind of image they want to portray, which image is, by the way, a very big aspect of narcissist, and what kind of manipulation they want to create. So the main goal of a manipulative narcissist, at least, or a psychopath, the epitome of their success, of their art, which is manipulation, is making people do what they want to do. And the epitome of that is, of course, like I said in a previous video, is to either get a person to kill themselves or get them to kill someone else for them. So that's like the creme de la creme of manipulation, right? Like if manipulating people and lying to them was your art, having like an army follow you and do your whim, that would be your ultimate goal. That would be how you would satisfy your ego, which is what we're all about. We're all about satisfying their own egos themselves. And so I posted that picture of Teal Swan in front of a mirror in her natural environment. So how do we go about recognizing these people? It's very difficult to do because throughout their lifetime, they would have learned, especially if they have some sort of intelligence, they would have learned how to be really, really good at hiding themselves up. So when you meet them, probably, they have already polished up their skill to a certain degree that it would be very difficult for you to recognize them. And they've done it through people criticizing them. So they're not complete idiots. I'll give you an example of a pathological narcissist, but one of many I ran into. So it was this guy called Ron Giovanni, and he taught White Crane Kung Fu. So his whole thing was teaching Kung Fu, martial arts. He was terrible at it, and he would post videos of him doing certain kata or whatever, and he would post all these certificates of himself and pictures of him and other gurus or sifus, and he would post this stuff on the martial arts forum to try and get people to join him. And this is how you can watch the evolution of it. So at the start, he had all these certificates for his school. And me and another guy, we went out. First of all, everyone was telling him how horrible his techniques are and the videos that he was putting up. So those videos got quickly taken down. And the next thing is he put up all these certificates. And I can't remember how we discovered, because this was years and years and years ago. And we got those certificates, and we actually found a website that would print the same kind of certificates, and you would order them in, and it was like a Chinese site that would give you whatever certificate you want. You would just pay a fee. So fake certificates, basically. So those were all on his website. And, of course, we called him out on it, and we showed it to him. And he just took him down. You know, he learned his lesson, and he doesn't do that anymore. But you know what? I looked him up recently, and he's got a school, and he's got a bunch of followers that would never have heard of this everything that happened, because we got our own lives to live. We're not gonna waste too much time and follow him around and try to expose him all the time. So we kind of let it go. All the people in the forum saw that he was full of shit, but the people that came in recently to his school haven't learned that. They haven't seen that aspect of him, so they just see whatever polished attitude that he has at the moment. And unfortunately, a lot of people have bought into it. So it's very, very difficult. I understand that it's really difficult for people to recognize when someone is being fake like this, especially if you haven't had a lot of experience with somebody. Like I said, the probably best reference point you might have if you're female is dating a narcissist, because narcissists tend to be disproportionately male. So Teal Swan is an exception, I guess, being a female manipulative narcissist. Even though you'd think a female would be obsessed with the looks more awesome, but apparently men are more likely to have this kind of aspect to them. And things you can recognize in a manipulative narcissist are things like, first of all, them being very possessive of you. So they'd be very jealous of you hanging out with your friends or hanging out with people that they disagree with. They would always feel that maybe that friend is going to be saying something bad to you about them. So you wouldn't be able to be manipulated by that person as much. This comes out in Teal, of course, with all her kind of anti-family stuff that she says, how people who disagree with your path are going to melt away from your life. The universe is going to do it. Of course, these are all suggestions for you really to get rid of them. And this is what pathological narcissists try to do. They try to disconnect you from everybody so that you can only rely on them. Another aspect, again, there's so much we can go into, but another common thing they do is once they push their boundaries to a certain point where you just say, okay, I had enough. I've done so much stuff for you. So they'll get you to do a lot of stuff for them. They'll really push your boundaries to the point where you're cleaning the little bit of lint in between the toes. If they can get you to do that for them, they will. They're not dumb. They're not going to say that to you straight away. It's a progression. Like a cult is a progression. They start with giving you something nice and good, and then they slowly take you down that rabbit hole. But at some point you might even say, like, okay, I had enough. I got to get away from this person. And the thing they usually come back to is making you feel sorry for them. They will cry. They will say they have this mental disease. They might even have their family so convinced that and brainwashed themselves that they might have their family call you, and even though you have done all this stuff for them, you've gone above and beyond to help them, their family will call you up and tell you what a horrible person you are for not taking care of them. So that's the kind of stuff you would expect in a personal relationship. And I'm going to read out, I think, a list of other aspects of it. Again, this is something you can talk, and it's a very fascinating thing. Like I said, I don't know if I've dated anybody like this, but I've had a lot of friends, and I had a lot of... It's mostly men who have this. But I've had a lot of experience with this, and that's why I could pick Teal Swan out straight away. That's why it didn't take me too long to see who she really is. But here's a list, and as I read this list out, I'll comment on it, but try to see if there's aspects of Teal that you might start to recognize in this list of pathological narcissism. So this list is from Psychology Today, and there's a lot of information about them. So just Google pathological narcissism and that condition if you want to learn more about it. But here's a quick little list. I think there's 9 points. Number 1, has a grandiose sense of self-importance. I think just think about Teal and that statement right there, and see if that might be an aspect of her personality. Number 2, is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Could that be Teal? Is it possible that she has a few fantasies of unlimited success and power? She never mentioned anything about her being some special alien, or, I don't know. Did she ever mention that? Or anyway. Number 3, believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions. Think about all the guys she kind of tried to marry, or probably I would gather that if you live with Teal, if you're one of those people in her house, and she would set very, very high standards for you, probably higher than what she sets for herself, about all the things you should do, especially all the things that you should do for her. So that's number 3. Number 4, requires excessive admiration, regularly fishes for compliments, and is highly susceptible to flattery. Interesting. Has a sense of entitlement. Now, this goes down to, again, a lot of stories that I've heard about living with Teal definitely match this description of her. And if you ever dated somebody like this, you would know that having a sense of entitlement, thinking that people owe something to you, whether it's based on the kind of lies you made up about yourself and your history, or like saying that you got raped so people know, or whether it's just they have this aspect to the personality. It's a very big part of them. Is interpersonally exploitative. That should come as a given. Lacks empathy, is unwilling or unable to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. And this is interesting in Teal Swan's case because she does a lot of video where she seemingly cares about other people. But really, and if you look at these interviews she has with other people where she sits down and tries to help them, you will notice that, first of all, she can't really go too long without talking about herself. So pathological narcissists are complete egoists, and even though she tries as hard as she can to have this air of trying to help the person sitting in front of her, she doesn't really give a shit about them. And you will see this come out when she just starts telling a personal story or goes into how bad things were for her, or something like that. You can recognize this. You can start to look at this, but you can't just sit down and talk about the other person for too long. It really frustrates pathological narcissists to think and care about other people. Hence why she, of course, told that woman to go out for a little drive and kill herself. Well, not kill herself, but see if she's committed to life or not. She didn't specifically say to kill, but she knew that would most likely be the result, and she still did it because she doesn't care. She doesn't care, and this is very hard for people who are empathetical and who do care about other people to understand and to click in that these kind of people exist. But they do. Is often envious of others, or believes that others are envious of him or her. That's number 8. And number 9 shows arrogant, haughty, rude and abusive behaviors or attitudes, And these are things that might not come out on her mainstream videos, but if you look at the personal experiences of people who lived with her, who've dealt with her, that's certainly the aspect of her that is very prominent about how she behaves when the camera's not on her, is very different to how she often acts in public life. And if you want to have a progression of the most fake, so the videos that she puts out usually on her channel, that's the most fake. There's more things you can spot with her when she's doing interviews, when it's kind of like free flowing. So you can kind of pick out these aspects of her a lot more in those videos, where they're not cut and edited, where it's like a streaming show or whatever. And of course, if you love her so much and you'd actually live with her, you would get the whole shebang, because there's only so much a narcissist can do to keep up appearances. And eventually, like, what's the point of being a pathological narcissist if you can't boss people around and make them do what you want and treat them like crap? You know, that defeats the whole purpose that she has. So, so if you live with her, you would certainly see all of these things in droves, and that's what the stories that from people who have lived with her are. Again, I've pushed this video too long. It's such a fascinating. Oh, I better put a picture of Teal Swan in a bikini now. All right, that's a really nice one. She's kind of like self-loving herself, or so. And one person said, "Why do you put these pictures up of her that kind of help her ego or something?" And look, I'm not gonna lie and say that she's ugly or pretend that she's not. She's probably ugly on the inside. She's not the kind of person I would like to spend any personal time with. But I gotta admit, she looks pretty good, and those looks are gonna fade with age, of course, and they're starting to go already. But I'm not gonna lie and say she isn't pretty. She is good looking, and you shouldn't deny those things. Try to pretend that she isn't good looking or anything like that. But yeah, so she's definitely pleasant to look at, but just probably not a good person to listen to and devote your life to. And more, like, as I listen to people and the kind of negative comments they're getting, like piggybacking off my last video, the other guys who are critics of Teal, they tell me, they're getting these death threats and they're getting all this negativity coming from the people who are really deep into Teal Swan's camp. And these are the kind of attitudes you could expect if you keep following her, if you keep... Eventually, her narcissism and her insanity is going to rub off on you. So the more you listen to her. So again, don't waste your life on her. Research pathological narcissism and see and start to recognize these aspects of her. And realize that there are much more better... Don't listen to me. There are much other better spiritual teachers out there that can tell you pretty much the same regurgitated stuff Teal Swan is feeding you, without her eventual narcissism having an effect on you and messing you up emotionally and mentally and probably physically as well. So thank you for listening, and yeah, all the best. Be blessed, to use one of Teal Swan's supporters' comments if you like that. And yeah, guys, all the best. Bye.